Ooh. Okay. Iris, could I show you this? Oh, how exciting. What is it? Tell me about it. Oh, actually, I was hoping you might be able to tell me something about it, if anything comes to mind. Why would it? Well, no, I suppose it wouldn't. Tell me, I want to hear everything. This hasn't gone according to plan. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey. Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. Though, at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. Like this? Gulp. Thinking back now, you left Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade. Oh, Guinea? She's just a professional pickpocket. So we found out. It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that. Are you referring to that trial disrupting gun-like contraption? Exactly. So I followed her to see to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions. This girl is dangerous. Anyway, I brought Guinea back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician. Sorry, your technician. Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Herlock Sholmes. I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter. Daughter? Not likely. What? I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Holmes? Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out the loadings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner or roommate. Your roommates. I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 years at least. Well, what of your mother and father? Oh no, they're not around. Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. No, yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the adventures of Herlock Sholmes and... Oh, you have a copy of the Rancets magazine? Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world. My stories? That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night, he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship just traveling from faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you are the author? Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call the latest adventure the Speckled Band. The Speckled Band? That's certainly familiar. Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble. Oh, that was Mr. Shum's first fault as well, actually. Yes, and of course I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think. Don't you? So, you mean to say, are the stories about Mr. Shum's that are published in Rancid magazine? All written by me, yes. On my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson. Satsu-san's getting more and more worked up. Ah yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? That's all true too. I am a doctor of medicine. No, at 10 years old. At 10 years old. Well, that's quite incredible. But, Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Ah, yes. I did alter the settings slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective and with a 10-year-old girl in tow. I suppose it does, yes. Poor Susato-san. She looks like her whole world is just falling apart. About before. Forgetting something? Oh, no. Yes, what's on your mind, Bruno? Do tell me. How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London, I mean? Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted, although there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Oh. Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Oh. First of all, I already knew that you were a lawyer, Runo. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's chamber. But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that? I observed the passport and the travel ticket producing from your basket pocket. Oh. So, I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived here in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against a particular prosecutor, telling me that you were unaware of London's court affairs. The Reaper of the Bailey. I walked right into that one, didn't I? Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you were visited to the local prison to meet the suspect, weren't you, earlier today? They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see? I didn't realize. And the red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So, that told me that even though you only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus Begild, the two of you had already caused to visit foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face. So I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case. I see. But how could you have known that trial is tomorrow? Well, having been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he caught a Japanese man who was boiling and trembling. A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been Mr. Natsumi. Now, Runo has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that both of you come from Japan yourselves. So I put two and two together and decided you must be defeating the Japanese man Hurley caught defending. And there was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. There's a note in the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley's always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know. He is silly. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct? They were spot on. That was amazing, Iris. Surely a great deduction. You even managed to ascertain something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery. Oh, well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man. You saying? Yes. Haley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems. Apparently, a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man. Mr. Natsumi, beyond any doubt. Sosuke-san said that he didn't see anybody on the street at all. But it seems that there were witnesses after all. Harry used his great detective powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man shivering in fear. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark this time. Of course it did. He's a great detective. Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it? Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Haley says that London is rife with crime. Oh, Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating the cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of working of the world's greatest justice system. I suppose it is. But in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Sosuke-san. Thank you for answering many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative. Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well. Ah, well, I expected Hurley is still investigating the scene. Of the case involving Mr. Natsumi, you mean? Yes, Mr. Nuts... Oh, May. Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson when you were there? Yes, we know Inspector Gregson. Ah, goody, in that case. Give Gregsy this for me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what to do. What is this? A 5-shilling piece, and a postcard, it seems. It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it? Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Good luck, then. I'm going to turn to my writing manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruhondo, it's back to the scene of the crime. So, somewhat dubious that they would expect any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene where with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. It looks as though the police are still here carrying on with their investigation. Perfect. So let's find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible. Yes, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at the silver tip of Iris gave for us. Thank you again for this. Don't mention it. I had someone at the yard fish up for me, but in the end I didn't need it. Well, the case hardly could hardly be simpler, could it? Don't need a map to work out what happened. You can throw it away when you're done with it. Cold. Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment? I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign gadabouts, that's for sure. We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson. What? For me? From her ladyship? Her ladyship? Give that there at once. Come on, hand it over. That's for me. Don't wait for me to give it to you. You will? What was that coin exactly? It's a silver coin, obviously, but it's a lot more than that. It's, well, it's an appearance fee. That's what it is. An appearance fee? Oh, I see. You mean... That's right. For the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me every time. Yes, of course. I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them availably. Of course. Her using my name without my say-so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes, but still. I am sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you. Never mind that. So... So, what do you want to know then, eh? Sorry. Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously it's not a problem. Go and fire away. What do you want to know? Well, if you wouldn't mind, Inspector, I'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsumi's lodgings. The little knife-wielding mustache Japanese fellow. He lives on the right old hovel. It's just over there, look. Oh, you got it. On the first floor of that house on the corner where that wrecks of bicycles propped up. And that is nearby indeed. If I remember rightly, the landlord is Mr. John Garib. Gary Deb. Right, well... if you see her again, you make sure you give her ladyship my regards, you hear? You hear? I mean it, you tell her that Gregson sends his very best wishes. Don't worry, Inspector. We will. Goodbye for now, then. And long live her ladyship. Well, at least he told us what he wanted to know before he left. Yes, so then, shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsumi's lodgings? Definitely. Do-do-do. Lodgings of Mr. Sosuke Natsumi. According to the information gleaned from Inspector Gregson. We still haven't been here yet. May I help you? Yes. Would this be the residence of Mr. John Garib? Indeed it would, sir. And who may I say is calling? My name is Ryunosuke Narhondo. Mr. Narhondo is representing Mr. Sosuke Natsumi. I believe he takes lodgings here? We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garib. Did you see that, Mr. Sato? That was a real-life English maid. I know. And as I understand it, anyone of standing in English societies employs a number of household staff. But that was the first time I've ever seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better. Certainly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it? We only need to meet a butler, and the experience will be complete. Well, I'm not sure I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garib will see you now, this way. He looks goofy. His uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it? It's clearly been well looked after, though. That old thing? Pah.
Not much better than rags, really.
Oh?
Wore that ceremonial garb at my retirement bash, you know. But I'm not the one dwelling on the past. Me, would have gladly thrown it out, but you know how it is. Anyway, doesn't hurt to have an odd piece of memorabilia lying around, does it?
Oh, I see. Perhaps we should leave the past in the past. British cannon. That's a full-sized cannon. What's it doing in here? Oh my, it's real. I thought it might be a replica.
That old thing? Bah. That's a little more than a toy.
Sorry?
The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about in the house.
Really? Isn't it overkill?
Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next, boy.
Do you think there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garadeb?
Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have clean an apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrel, you see. Then, dry very well on the cannon there. Joan tells me, which rather proves my point, I feel.
It's been reduced to a drawing rack. No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame. More books. I notice you have a pile of books here, Mr. Garadeb. Do you enjoy reading?
Ever experienced a London winter, boy? The nights are long. No better way to pass the time than in front of the fire with a jolly good book.
Oh, there's a copy of Rancid's magazine here, I see. No doubt Mr. Garadeb enjoys the adventures of Sherlock Holmes too. A great detective has a great many followers, it would seem. Are those mortar shells? They're enormous. I hadn't noticed. What are they doing here?
Ah, those old things. Couple of little rounds I accidentally fired into the barracks during training, you know. Became a bit of a colorful regiment folklore, that ancient.
You mean you deliberately hunted out the spent shells?
Well, I wouldn't say deliberately, exactly. They're only scrap iron, after all. Usually just thrown away, I believe. But you never know when things might come in useful, do you?
Useful for what, exactly?
Yes, well... Joan here did manage to knock one of the bally things on my foot the other day while she was dusting.
Oh no.
Hadn't shed a tear since 1869. Before then, you know.
Maybe reconsider throwing them away.
Apologies.
That portrait of Mr. Gardeb is glaring at me, I swear. Have you noticed that all the little frames contain photographic prints of Mr. Gardeb as well? Yes, and there seems to be a statue of a lion on the mantelpiece as well.
Ah, yes. Seemed to come back from the local pawnbroker with that little trinket.
Seemed to come back? What do you mean?
The chap who runs the place is a bally wizard. Went in to sell him something and came out with that thing. In point of fact, now I think about it, I rather often find myself leaving the place with something I don't need.
The lion ornament certainly does seem surplus to requirements. Sasato-san doesn't pull the punches, or throws for that matter. Look at that enormous screen. It must have been put there deliberately, surely. Yes, certainly seems like someone's trying to hide something from view. What could be behind it, I wonder? I'm going to have a quick look. Just a little peek. Ahem, ahem. Maybe let's not, Mr. Saito. I think the maid is going to head us off with a cup of tea. Ahem, ahem. That window looks out over Brea Road, where the young woman was attacked. Oh, yes. I can make out the police on the far side of the road investigating the crime scene. The glass is rather murky, isn't it? You can't see very clearly. Does this thing open at all, I wonder? I shouldn't underestimate the bitterness of a London winter, sir. Sorry. As soon as you open that window, the tea will freeze in the pot. No Londoner would go opening windows at dusk in the middle of a winter, I assure you. It seems very unlikely these two would have seen anything of the incident then. Oh, look. What a wonderful collection of cakes lined up on that gleaming silver cake stand. Lined up. It looks like someone has half demolished them to me. Afternoon tea is a time to indulge, you know. It is quite the English way. It is Mr. Gardeb's custom to take 2 cakes with his tea. That sounds delightful. Oh, wait a minute though. There are at least 10 cakes on this cake stand. Naturally, it would never do to waste the leftovers. So whatever Mr. Gardeb doesn't eat, I say to myself, Joan, you shall have to tidy up. How magnanimous of you. Look at this cookery. On display here, it's rather unusual, isn't it? My, a genuine London dresser? Isn't it delightful? Although the shelves seem to be broken, and the crockery is, oh dear, it's in pieces. It really is the word cracked when. Really is. The word cracked wouldn't do that chinware justice. I wonder. Perhaps the cannon was fired at it. Yes, probably something like that. But let's not delve too deeply. This old candle holder looks a little out of place here, wouldn't you say? Yes, you're right. It's clearly supposed to be gold, but it's almost completely black for some reason.
That old thing, yes. Just a cheap piece of imagery. Gimcrack? Really?
Oh,
Used it when I was studying, don't you know? For my commission. I know it's old, hardly worth hanging on to, really. But, well, still has its uses sometimes.
of course. Does everything in this room have some elaborate story behind it? And they're memories, Mr. Naruhondo. Memories! That looks like a medal of honor, and it's showcased on a very grand banner. Yes, it's displayed with some pride, I would say. Although it bothers me that it's not straight.
What? That old thing?
Sorry.
I should be glad to see the back of it. But the general would turn his grave if I disposed of it. The wall's the best place for it. Keeps the bally thing out of my way.
So it's just been polished. It's just been polished to shine by accident, I suppose. There appears to be an inspection on the metal itself. Look. Let me see. It says for distinguished participation. Sounds like the kind of honors even I could be in line for.
Well, one doesn't like to blow one's own trumpet, but I was given that for my time in the army. Can't measure an officer by the number of medals to his name, of course. Common knowledge in military circles. Good day to you. Jean Garadeb, at your service.
Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Ryunosuke Naruhondo. He's a defense lawyer.
Do excuse me not getting up. Took a shot to the knees a few years ago back in the Battle of Maywind, don't you know? Earned the medal for my pains, but had to withdraw from service. Handed over the reins to the up-and-comings.
So he's a retired soldier.
It's a hell of a job getting up downstairs now, I can tell you. Don't get out much as you can imagine.
Yes, it's quite the climb up here to the second floor, isn't it? I was panting at the top of the stairs. You really must take more exercise, Mr. Naruhondo. Do you think so? Well, Mr. Garadeb, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a medal.
Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just full roll, really. Wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so I grudgingly displayed it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let's see, let these good people see it properly. Joan, fetch the... Ah! Dash it, old woman! Be careful!
Oh, dearie me. I do beg your pardon, sir.
You jolly nearly took the skin off my hands.
I shall be careful, sir.
So, anyway, there you have it. Living the quiet life now.
Yes, I see.
Now then, I hear you want to know the chap lodging downstairs. Is that right?
Yes. We'd be very grateful if you could answer some questions for us.
Only too pleased, naturally, especially if it helps to keep the peace in here in lightly. We forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware. So in this case, it's very much in the public eye, as it were.
Oh, is it?
Even had some famous detective poking around, you know, in this old house, would you believe?
Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Could have been. Didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea. All that detective business.
Oh, but you have a copy of Ranted magazine here, so...
No.
Anyway, the chap's investigating the foreigner's room as we speak. So, he's in Sasaki-san's room.
It's a bally nuisance. Is what it is. The whole neighborhood's twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss. It's jolly unsettling.
About Mr. Natsumi then, Mr. Garadeb, please do tell us.
Ah yes, the Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week.
Oh, just 1 week. So, he moved in very recently then.
I have 2 lodgers. Most of the time, one on the ground floor, and one just below us. The first floor room must become available a week ago, and you...
First floor must become available a week ago. You see, there'd been... okay.
Dash it all, Joan. Do be careful.
Oh my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. If you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him. Oh? Why? He seemed to be most nervous disposition, always shaking, looking over his shoulder. The man had shady written across his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I said to myself, Joan, that man is trouble. Sooner or later he's going to do something untoward. And I'm rarely wrong about anything. We won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure. Is there anything else that struck as suspicious about the man at all? Yes, indeed there was. And she's dying to tell us. Did you notice anything else at all about about your lodger, Mr. Natsumi?
Oh my word, yes. The man was shadier than an orchard.
Could you elaborate?
Well, take the man's room, absolutely stuffed full of books. It is more than anyone else could ever read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call. He just trots off to that old bookshop every single day and comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else in the house has gone to bed, too.
Oh, I see.
The gentleman on the ground floor goes to bed at around 9 each night. But I've never known that Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning.
Ah. Could you clarify something, I wonder?
What, pray?
How do you know so much about Mr. Natsumi's routine?
Oh,
I'd understood if that neither of the lodgers live on this floor of the house. Is that correct?
that's right, yes. They're both below us on the first floor and street level.
Then how is it that you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise times that they come back in the evening, for example, even the times they go to bed.
Ah! Good grief, Joan. Be more careful, woman. Oh my goodness, sir. I'm terribly sorry, sir.
Something doesn't add up here. It seems that the incident took place around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out of the window at around that time?
The window.
Yes, we noticed that the window over there looks out over Brea Road. The incident took place on the pavement just on the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby?
5 o'clock is dinner time in Garrett household. So I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan?
No, sir. I would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And with the fog as well, I should think it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road. Oh, I see. Did you notice anything else out of the ordinary then?
Such as?
Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated.
Well.
Yes?
Well, it's nothing particularly.
Yes, what? Was there something then?
Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but at around that sort of time here or there. For the love of God, Joan! Watch what you're doing!
Oh, dearie me. What have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir.
Do be more careful, woman.
Of course, sir. If I may, Mr. Narrow Hollow. Oh, yes? I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I can remember, nothing for any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all. Oh, really? Mr. Gerdep? The way you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been.
Oh, well, as I was saying, it was just their Ah! Joan Jasserol, what is the matter with you, woman?
Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened.
Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to a quiet, uneventful meal. Joan?
That's right, Mr. Garydeb. What is the matter with these two? It sounds like something happened here in the room on the evening of the incident, but what? I wish I knew. Tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on.
Why, certainly. Just below us on the first floor.
And Mr. Shums is investigating getting there as well, as we speak?
Yes, told me Nuts his name. I asked him to look into the matter, so I gave him the key.
Mr. Natsume has engaged Mr. Shums' services? That's a blazing lie. Would it be alright if we also had a look around in Mr. Natsume's room, I mean?
Don't see why not. It's just down one flight of stairs.
Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us with the case, but we have to try. We need all the clues we can lay our hands on, shall we? Yes, and while we're there, we can speak with Mr. Shums again. Perhaps he'll be able...
Okay.
Is this always there? The stream is lagging. What the... Where's the... Okay. Nice. What? Just look at this place. And smell it. It's so musty in here. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that. Like a little cat. Don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life. No, me neither. It's so dark in here too. Keeps his windows bricked. Is that the window over there? Well, it was the window, I think. Yes, once upon a time. But for some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So, this is where Mr. Natsume lives. By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Shums anywhere. Have you? No, that's true. But according to what Mr. Garrett told us, the great detective should be around here somewhere investigating. Oh, there's so much stuff. Look at all those books stacked up there. They almost reach the ceiling. They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so musty. This volume of books, with this volume of books to hand, you'd never be short of reading material, would you? No, no. What a dreamy idea. Bad dream, maybe. For me, at least. Mind you, I don't imagine the book that's at the bottom of the pile now will ever read again. So reading is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime, just as tea ceremony teaches us. Certainly didn't expect that conversation to turn down the path of ceremony for philosophy. Could you ever call this a window? I think so. It was a window at one time after all. Although all that remains is a frame around the bricks now. So really, it's just a wall then. It's just a wall then, isn't it? But why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that? I'm afraid I have no idea. Ah, perhaps Mr. Nutsme painted the brick design on in a fit of whimsy. That's alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation in here makes the place very oppressive. It does. Imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely trying. Oh, look. Wait, what is it? Look, it's a beckoning cat from home. It's big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsumi didn't bring that Make Neko all the way from Japan with him. I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhondo. Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage? Well, it can be dangerous traveling abroad. I wanted a lucky charm. Well, I imagine Mr. Natsumi wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him. It's not doing a very good job so far, is it? You mustn't say such things. I didn't say a word. Why am I such a giveaway? Cat. No. Little goober. Oh my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master is away. I don't know about that. He disappeared into the pile of books as quick as a flash. It was a tricolor Ma'ike, wasn't it? Do they even have that sort of thing? Do they even have that sort of cat here in Great Britain? Perhaps Mr. Natsumi brought the little creature with him from Japan? That's made me feel homesick now. Already? We've only been in the country for 2 days. Rubbish. Look at these balls of paper on the floor. There are notes scrawled all over scrawled over them in English. Looks like the waste paper basket is full is full. They've just fallen out. I think Mr. Natsumi must have been deeply impressed in his research, don't you? Or deeply averse to tidying up his mess. I wouldn't like to speculate which is closer to the truth. That desk seems to be wedged into a crevice between the mountains of books on either side. I suppose Mr. Natsumi would sit there and read whilst stroking his cat. But surrounded on all sides by these towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well. Yes. He must have done, mustn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop, Yodo Books. Oh, yes, Mr. Natsumi's name is on it. Look. And the date of purchase. 2 days ago, at 5:45 p.m. That's the day of the incident. That's just a short while before the embroiled in the terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books. Oh. He's here. Look, Mr. Naruhondo. There he is. Where did he appear from? He seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes.
You two. Good day.
Now, let me see. Where was it that we met? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Booyah.
Yes, of course. The Booyah.
And let me see. What happened on that voyage? It was Kazuma Asogi. He died tragically, but you were a great help to us.
Yes, of course. The case of Mr. Asogi.
It was one with a snake, wasn't it? Oh. Well, you seem to remember something of it, at least. What an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Sholmes. Is this Mr...
Oh, no. My madame, hold your tongue.
I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhondo. And Mr. Susasato. Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes.
I lose myself. I lose the first round. In truth, I'd hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London. But some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes. So they apprehended Sosuke-san in that short an amount of time? I'm afraid the persons of a new case has dulled my recollection of my past involvements a little. A little? It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they shout elbow out of the useful ones. Yes, Those are my own words of inimitable wisdom, you know, from an adventure entitled A Study in Scarlet.
Please, there's no need to quote yourself.
I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately my associate pens them beautifully.
It means Iris, I suppose. Mr. Shums, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you just mentioned.
Goodness, what are the earnest expressions? My dear madame, I should be too pleased in this murky room in an apart place to discuss the murky case. Mr. Naruhodo, please. Despite your aspirations to the contrary, I am a professional, and if I am to unleash my deductive powers on that trinket, I must ask for some £3 in cash.
Oh, I don't need you to make any deductions about it. I was just wondering if you might know.
Mr. Naruhodo, as a professional, I insist that I am to offer my opinion on the trinket. I must ask for a sum of £3 in cash.
I believe Shums has his eyes on an expensive copy of The Complete Works of Shakespeare.
Yes, to stand on the stage amid rapturous applause. It has long been a dream of mine, as you know.
I literally had no idea. We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student, the name of Sosuke Natsumi. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Shums, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Brea Road.
Natsumi, yes, I believe it was his name, rather along those lines.
But Mr. Natsumi denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little?
I'm sorry, Mr. Sato. I have not the slightest idea what you mean.
What? I can't believe he was looking at Sasato-san squarely in the eye while feigning ignorance.
I assure you I'm not merely feigning ignorance. It would appear as if the pair of you are under some misapprehension.
Oh? How?
I assure you I have no recollection of accusing your stooped compatriot of the crime.
That doesn't make sense.
The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request of me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity of the whereabouts of a man seen fleeing the crime scene.
A man seen fleeing.
There were a number of books scattered on the pavement at the scene. From the book plates, I was quickly able to determine the bookshop from which they had purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there is a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question.
So, you don't think Mr. Natsumi is the culprit then?
That I could not tell you. But it was aggravating my fallacies, hence why I returned here. However, this place is such trove of fascinating books. I found myself quite lost in biblically. Do not be deceived into believing that I'm a man of leisure. No.
Oh dear.
Tell me, have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings?
Yes, Mr. Gaida. A retired military man. It was the first time I've ever met a soldier from the Great British Institution, that is, services. It was the first time I've ever met a maid from the Great British Institution, that is, service. I didn't think it was that funny.
I do apologize. As you may well be aware,
Many households in London employ a maid. Yes, I read as much in my Great Britain premiere.
and so conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein.
Betoken their social standing? Sorry.
Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family.
Goodness, how extraordinary.
As you can appreciate, for those on those. As you can appreciate, for those on precious boundary between the middle and lower classes, being able to afford just one maid is of the first importance.
I had no idea. It is for precisely that reason that I find great stimulation in the situation upstairs. Specifically, in the retired army veteran, Mr. Joan Gardeb. Oh? Affable as he is, the fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of the case, I'm yet unable to ascertain. I'm fairly lost on what he means to say. This room is fairly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab somebody sooner or later. Mr. Natsumi has stabbed no one. Ah, but sooner or later, as I said. I don't believe that's the issue here. About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea? No window. I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts. But it's completely blocked with bricks. Ah, I see. The answer to that question is simple. Window tax. Window tax? What is that? Surely not a tax on windows. Precisely that. Oh my goodness. Until relatively recently, a tax was leveled on households in this country by the number of their windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable and costly family home, perhaps rapidly closed windows up. While the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere. In an effort to curry flavor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money. How awful and unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light. Indeed, diseases was rife as a result. So, some 40 years ago, or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. But its legacy remains, as you can see, in squalid lodgings such as these, for example. I suppose Mr. Natsumi's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps.